Hi everyone, it's Kayla here.
And Trey. And today we're gonna be doing drip irrigation.
Woohoo! Every gardener loves drip irrigation because who doesn't want to passively water their garden beds? If any of you know anything about having adequate water in your garden, you know that it is a chore if you don't have drip irrigation. So watch how simple it is for us to install this system. Do it again.
Let's go. So the tools you're gonna need today. This is optional, but I love to have it. This is a hose splitter. So this is what you put on your main line. And I use this hose splitter because one output is gonna be used for the drip irrigation. The other output I want just in case we're filling up watering pans, you know, just to have a free open output so you don't use up this spigot only for drip irrigation. Grab yourself a timer. Any timer is fine. This is just the one I happen to use. So this is what's gonna go at the end of the splitter. Poly tubing. Grab yourself an adapter. This adapter is gonna be necessary to come from the end of the timer, and you see it gets smaller right here, so you can then grab your poly hose and connect it to that side. So this adapter is just converting it from the hose size to the poly tubing size. A splitter, so this is gonna split my poly tubing into two, and they call this a T-split because it's in the shape of a T. And then we have our valve. This is our shut-off valve. This is to shut off the water supply. We have a L splitter.
All right.
We have our male-to-male adapter. I think that's what this is called. You're also gonna need yourself some soaker hose. It's optional, you can switch this out for any other watering mechanism, but just keep in mind the poly tubing is just to make it run to the garden bed. This is what actually is going to water the garden bed once you connect it to the poly tubing. Alright, there's 1,000 different ways to do drip irrigation. This is how we do it. This is how I realize is the most efficient, affordable, stress-free. I'm not into doing extra stuff. Like, I'm into let's just get it done, make it look good, and make it easy. All right, so let's go. So this is our main spigot right here, where the main water comes from. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put our splitter right there. So when it's in line with the pipe, the water is running. When it's like this, it's not. Okay, so then you wanna grab your timer, and you go ahead and select whatever side you want to hook it up to. You just screw it on. Make sure everything's nice and tight. All right. I take my adapter and I hook that up. Okay, perfecto. And now I'm gonna connect the poly to the adapter. So you just push it in. You might want to get close for this. Just push it in. And then I love these adapters because they have a locking mechanism built in. So once you push the poly tube on it, you just twist and it tightens itself. Just like that. You can also do it to where you use a PVC pipe similar to this pipe right here to go back down, but I'm not concerned. I'm just gonna use our poly tubing. Okay, so what I'm gonna do though is I'm gonna run it down just like this, and as you see, make sure you don't get any kinks in it. You can also use some of these L connectors if you really want it to be flat up against the wall and not be sticking out in a big loop. You can use some of these L connectors to, you know, give it a hard angle. So you can see there's already a line going to our backyard that I already buried before the video. So I'm just gonna go ahead and use our T connector to connect that line, our main flow of water, and the line that I'm going to bury now. Okay, so let's go ahead. So once again, you just pushing that on top of the nozzle, and you screw it in. You don't gotta screw it too hard. You'll feel it. It'll start pulling. It's not, there's not crazy pressure coming from this system, so you don't have to go too crazy on the screwing.
No PSIs or any of that.
Yeah, we're not doing none of that PSI. It's very simple. So now I have my poly hose here. What I like to do is kind of lay it out before I start burying. Just screw that in.
Look at those sexy man hands. All those bangs.
I don't like how this one went on. It's kind of sitting at an angle, so let me redo it.
We want this to be as straight as possible, guys.
Yeah. You put it on, make sure it's in there straight. And you just tighten it up.
Do it right once, you don't have to do it again.
Okay, there we go. Stretch it out.
Head over to the front yard bed.
Okay, so for the digging, I like to use a piece of pipe to help me push the tubing underground. And what I do is I just cut 2 notches in it. I cut a triangle on both sides basically, so that way when I push the pipe, it sits right in there. Okay, so once again guys, this is just my technique for burying the poly tubing. You can find any way that works for you to get this hose underground, or just leave it on top if you're not really concerned about it. Okay, so I have to show you guys what I do. I put the shovel in, I lift up the dirt, and then I use this to push it down under. So you just cut into this grass, lift it up, and then you're gonna squeeze the hose right in between the notches that we cut into here. Or you could even use the flat side.
Or you could drop it.
Yeah, or you could drop it. Or you could use your hands. You could even do this. You feel me? You don't gotta be bougie with it. If you wanna use your hands, that's fine too. It's easier to use a stick so you can hold the pressure while you dig the next spot. It's easier to use a stick so you can hold the pressure while you dig the next spot. And please be careful if you feel anything hard. Make sure you're not hitting a pipe or an existing line. Especially when you're working this close to the house. This doesn't really work in the sandy areas. It really works where it gets grassy, where you can actually, where there's roots holding the dirt together. But it saves a lot of time if you do it like this. Just keep on going down the line. Or if you have some help, you can have somebody behind you stuffing the hose down while you dig. Just be careful not to make any crinks in the hose, because once it's buried, you can't see it anymore.
And by kinks, he means don't bunch up the cable, don't bend the cable, or your water pressure will be extremely off and you won't know why.
please be careful if you feel anything hard. Make sure you're not hitting a pipe or an existing line. Especially when you're working this close to the house.
He makes it look so easy. It's really not.
See how the grass is easier? Once I get to the sand, I'm gonna be in trouble. So I'll show you guys. Take it easy on the curves. You wanna make wide curves because you don't wanna kink. So you can't do any 90-degree angles unless you use one of the L connectors.
So is that why mine just kinked? I was bending it?
I don't know what she was doing. No, yours kinked. Also, it kinked a while ago when she was doing it is because the hose was like this. You don't want the hose, that's why I say you want to kind of lay it out before you start going. Because if it's like this, and you're trying to bend it here, it's going to kink up right there.
Okay.
So that's why you kind of pull it out. Lay it down the line. Know what I mean?
Word.
Word, G-Money? Alright.
She face up. But you see the angle that he's doing this.
There's a whole lot of roots. So I want to get closer to the house where I know that it's, where I can actually get it underground. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull this back up. You want to make sure once again that the angle isn't too acute or it will kink. So I just want to make sure that the hose could naturally bend like this. If not, I would have just used the L and made a 90-degree. I'm just gonna go ahead and dig a trench.
Do it again.
I'm gonna lay it down. Once you do that, you can just come back and kind of step down on the grass. This is where we're gonna cut the poly tube and connect it to the actual soaker hose. So remember, the poly tube is just to carry the water to the garden. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut it right here. Okay. And now we have our L connector. Squeeze that on, twist it, make sure it's nice and snug there. And then we're just gonna cut another piece of poly tube. I'll cut about a foot, a little less than a foot. Let's say about 8 inches. And you're probably asking, why did I cut that? Why did I do that? Well, to make this fully customizable, I want to put an on and off valve on every garden bed in our garden. I don't just want to have the irrigation water everything without me being able to control it. So we're gonna put an on and off valve right here. Because what if your garden changes? What if you plant something else and at some point you don't want any water there? I want to be able to control that. So this allows me to specifically turn this bed on and off.
I know, guys, I didn't tell him to do that. He's really just that amazing.
So then I cut another piece, about 3 inches, connect it to the output of the valve, twist, and then we're gonna connect our adapter. So this is the adapter that you need so it can go into the soaker hose or whatever hose you choose. A drip hose, whatever you choose. They're all this standard size. So as you see, this hose has a female end and this adapter is a female end. So that's why we have our male to male adapter right here. Screw that in. And then you take this, you screw that in.
Alright, so just for a quick wraparound conclusion.
Okay, you want
For each bed we need.
So at each bed, so when you're doing your pre-planning, just know at each bed you're gonna need either an L or a T connector, a valve, an adapter, a male-to-male adapter, and
that's it.
That's it.
This is just the soaker hose that Trey was talking about earlier. Hopefully you wouldn't have trellises and already established plants in, but if you do, then you can just work with the grid that you already have. It's really not a huge deal if the hose isn't like right next to the base of your plant, but I would highly recommend that you get it as close as possible because these do not emit a ton of water, and more so you just want to get as much water to the main root system as you can. So that's what I'm doing now. I've already started to thread it through, as you guys can see. I'm just going to keep wrapping this end around. Unfortunately, I do have a bunch of established plants and bamboo that I was talking about earlier, so this is a little bit more complex for me, or tedious I should really say, but yeah. Okay, I'll hold it.
Okay. Now when you get everything hooked up, you go ahead and do a test and check out your drip. So make sure nothing's leaking. Check your connections that you can see. So remember, I put a valve right here, so I turned it on at the base, and now I'm gonna cut it on right here. And we about to see the drip. Oh yes. Yeah, we have a leaky drip hose. But there it is. There goes the drip.